Hey everyone, welcome back. So I've been on a tube amp kick lately. I reviewed the K & Soul 170i, the Heaven 11, Billy Mark III, other tubed products here. I have another tube amp behind me, the K & CS805A, which is a single-ended triode Class A tube amp. But today I have something different, something unique from the brand Cary Audio. Now, Cary Audio is based right here in the United States. They've been around for decades. Cary Audio, as I mentioned in another tube amp review I did, the Cary 300 SCI, Cary is the brand that really got me into high-end audio back in the mid-90s, and that was maybe a little bit after they started. Now, today I have a solid-state amplifier from Cary Audio. This is the DMS-300A. And it is unique in the way it's not only an integrated amplifier, this is an all-in-one integrated amplifier, which means it's ready to go right out of the box to play music. All you have to do is add your speaker cables and your speaker. So the 300A has a streamer in it, it has a DAC in it, and it has an AKM DAC, which brings a little bit more of an analog sound. I love AKM DACs. It's rare that I see them in an all-in-one. But this also has a Class AB power amp, which is 75 watts per channel. And that doesn't sound like a ton of power, but in reality, it is. Unless you have some exotic, really hard-to-drive speakers, this will drive your speakers just fine. I had no issues with all the speakers I tested it with. The Bacardi 50s, the Icon 12s. Now, the Icon 12s are an easy drive, but the Bacardi 50s are a little bit harder to drive. I also tested it with my Pure Audio Project Duet 15s. But this is a unique amplifier, and I'll show you some of the features as I talk about it. This won't be a really long review, but I do have a written review over at my website. I will put a link below. So the Cary Audio DMS-300A is a sleek box. It's nothing fancy. It kind of looks a little bit retro and a little bit modern. Now on the front here, you can see you have a SD card in. You can play music off of that SD card. It has a USB in where you can play music off of a USB thumb drive. It offers Wi-Fi connection as well as Ethernet hardwire. It also has a Bluetooth connection. So you can stream music to this any way you desire. You can use the streaming company's apps such as Tidal Connect, Qobuz, Spotify. You can connect to this directly, or you can use Cary's own app.
All right, so here's the Cary app. If we go back to the main screen, there's something really cool that you can do with this app. Now, here's the power button. You can actually turn on and off the 300A here. You have a display button, the sources button, the brightness button of the display, but check this out. You can change the sample rate. So this will upsample to any and all of these here. So I have it on DSD 256 right now. I actually like the sound of it on DSD 64. So you can experiment with that, with the 300A, and they do make a difference. I did hear a difference in the sound. Now here, the app shows you your devices when you hook it up, and here's what's playing now through the 300A. It's on mute, so we don't hear it, but this is showing you what you're playing from Tidal Connect. It shows the album art, the file, and all of that. So that's pretty cool. Actually, this app is better than I thought it was. When I did the written review, I said, oh, it kind of looks like it's from the 90s, but no, it actually looks pretty good. And I love that you can use this sample rate, upsampling here, right within the app. That's pretty cool. And I can also turn it off. It'll say powering off, and the unit just clicked off. I heard it behind me. So that's pretty cool. That's the Cary app.
Now, this also has a unique feature as it looks pretty plain until you walk up to it. When you walk up to the DMS-300A, it auto senses your movement coming close to it, and then you see the panel light up with an electric blue display. And the power button, you push it and you hold it to turn the unit on. And once it's on, you can select your inputs. Now, I said this comes with a streamer, a nice AKM DAC chip, the 75 watt per channel amplifier. It does not have a phono stage, but it does have plenty of inputs on the back if you want to add your turntable. You will need a phono stage though going in. So you have the inputs here on the back. So here is the rear of the 300A. You have your two line ins right here. You have a main in, you have a pre-out. So you can use this as a preamp. You can use it, it looks like, as an amplifier. You have two subwoofer outs for if you want to hook up powered subs. You have a coax in and a coax out, right? You also have a USB input for firmware updates and optical in. Wi-Fi and Bluetooth antennas go there. You have USB, two of them here, and your Ethernet input. So that's the back of the Cary. Now on the right of the front panel, you have the source button, so you can change the different inputs. Right out of the gate, it's ready to go with streaming, and I think that's really what this was meant to be. An all-in-one, made in the USA. For those of you who really care about those things, a lot of you do. This one's made right here in America. Now, streaming to this after you hook up your speakers is super simple. I preferred using Tidal Connect, Qobuz Connect, and Spotify Connect. Now, Spotify has released their lossless version of Spotify, which it's included. It doesn't cost any extra. You just have to activate it in your menu. So I put this into the system and I started out with my Icon 12s. Now remember, I've been listening to a lot of tube amps. So I've listened to the Oil Lily 300B, the Cary 300B, the K & Soul, now the K & 805, the Heaven 11, which was a hybrid of sorts, but still had some of that tube flavor. So I was like, I wonder if I'm still going to like solid state here. Is it going to sound sharp or flat to me? Because tubes are known to add dimension to the music. So when I started with Tidal, and I have a playlist over at Tidal that anyone can check out. I'll put a link to that below as well. These are all songs that should sound beautiful on a hi-fi audio system. So I let that playlist play randomly, and the first thing I noticed right off the bat was, holy wow, the drums. Drums have snap, impact, clarity. And the thing that struck me about this amp is it sounds a lot like some of their tube amps that they sell. It offers that same kind of Cary house sound. So what is the Cary audio house sound? Those of you who've had Cary amps, you could chime in below as to what you feel the house sound is. But I feel that it's a big, large sound, right? Bold, really, really big bass, but that bass is not sloppy at all, but it's not so tight that it sounds lean. It offers up just a snap, a powerful sound. It sounds like, imagine looking at cars today, right? You can look at something that, is a little compact car like a Chevy Spark, or you can look at like a 1969 Camaro SS. This is what this sounds like, that muscle car, the 1969 Camaro SS. It's like big, bold American muscle. There is nothing wimpy at all about the sound of this amp. Now, this is not what I would call a warm amp, but it's not what I would call a bright amp. I would say this lines up as being neutral, but adding that Cary flavor of the big bottom bass, the nice mids that have beef, but also have a lot of clarity at the same time. So going to something like the Heaven 11 Billy Mark III, you're going to get more warmth because I'm using the ICE power modules there, the warmer version of the Billy. But the Cary brings out a little more detail, sparkle, and shine in the mid-range and the treble. So sound quality-wise, there were zero complaints. Now, it does come with a remote, and I have it right here. It's kind of an old-school remote. It looks like something from 1998. I would much prefer if Cary brought on a nicer remote, but this does the trick. It has way more buttons than we need for a unit like this, so I really just use it for the volume. I would much prefer like a little solid metal brick like some amps use today that give you a volume and a source selector, something like that. So you can also change the volume from the face plate, the front of the amp. There are two arrows down and up, and you can change the volume. Now, when you're sitting in your chair listening, this amp puts off, the display is like an electric blue. And from my seat, it was a little hard to read what was on the screen, and that's partly my old eyes, but partly I think it's just not that clear from my seat. So you don't have any VU meters, you don't have any big knobs here or dials. It's a amp that is, I think, designed to be simple to use. I plugged it in, I plugged in my Ethernet cable, and it was ready to go once I plugged in my speakers. And again, listening to the Icon 12s, big, bold, a little bit sharp in the mids, like I'm not saying bright, but clarity. This is a non-fatiguing amp, so it's not going to fatigue you unless you're listening to poorly recorded music. This isn't going to gloss over and polish up a turd, basically. So if you're listening to those thin old 80s digital recordings, they might sound like thin old 80s digital recordings here. Something like the Heaven 11 Billy Mark III will fatten up those recordings, but it does that with all the music. So I would say the Cary here is pulling out more detail from the Heaven 11. But again, I bought the Heaven 11 with the Ice Power module that is warmer. Going back to the Cary here, there's transparency. There's a nice sound stage. There is some depth to the sound stage. It's not the highest or tallest, but it's wide and deep. And the reason I like amps and sound quality of a deep sound stage is because you can hear kind of the layers of the music, the layers of the performers. I wouldn't say this is as holographic or detailed or open as this KN805A I have behind me, which is a totally different kind of beast. And the KN is more in line with the Cary 805C amps, or the 805 amps, what they call them today, 805, and then there's some other R maybe. This is more, it sounds like a mix. It sounds like 80% tube, 20% solid state. I don't really know how Cary did it, but they did. I didn't have any issues with the amp whatsoever. There was a time when I turned it on and I heard a little buzzing from the transformer, but then the next day I turned it on and there was no buzz, which tells me it's still my electricity here that sends some of that hum to the transformers, because I had days where it was quiet and I had days where it had a little noise humming. But either way, I didn't hear it at my listening position. All right, so going on to some more listening impressions. One song I like to use, and a lot of hi-fi people use this song, is Stevie Ray Vaughan, Tin Pan Alley. I listen to that song because it has the electric guitar, right, played so cleanly. It has the drums and the snaps and the kicks and the booms and those moments where there's like big sounds and the voice. Everything on that song is recorded so well. Listening on Tidal Connect through the Cary DMS-300A, the song was open. The clarity was just as I expected it to be. The transparency was nice, not over the top, but there was some transparency there. Again, this is not an amp that's overly warm, so it's not going to bring a lot of bass to the mid-range. It's going to bring that bass, but it's going to be the clear variety. But that song sounded phenomenal. I then played that song on the KN805 tube amp, and these 805 tube amps are known to be ultra transparent, have that ultra clarity, but also just be super holographic. The Cary was not as holographic as the KN, but this is the same price as the KN, but the KN doesn't have a streamer, it doesn't have a DAC, and it doesn't have all of these modern day features. So that's what this amp was really made for. Someone who wants no hassle, no muss, no fuss. You want an American-made piece of hi-fi. You want something you just plug in and you can stream to and make music. You want something that can drive any normal speaker that you can find, as long as you're not trying to fill a 3,000 square foot space. You're going to be okay. So yeah, that's the Cary Audio DMS-300A. It's a fantastic all-in-one. There's a lot of these on the market, but really, now that I'm thinking about it, there's not a ton of all-in-ones. A lot of all-in-ones are in the lower end range. This one here is kind of in the mid-tier to higher range at $6,000, but it sounds like a Cary and it works seamlessly. There's no problems that it gave me. So this was a super easy review to do. Again, if you want to see the written review, be sure to check that out over at the website. I have new reviews coming. I have a new DAC from Grubelador. That's quite the name. It's called the Divinity, and it is sounding beautiful in here. It sounds different from the last few DACs I reviewed. I'll talk more about that coming up. The KN805A, I have a new amp coming, a world premiere from Vinshine Audio and Kinky Studios, a brand new integrated amp from them. Their brand new network switch I'm going to be reviewing. There's actually all kinds of stuff. The new Enlium integrated amp I will be reviewing. I have a whole list of them, so they're all on their way. If you want to see those, be sure to subscribe here, hit the notifications. And if you like this video, thumbs up and subscribe. And I will see you guys in the next one very, very soon. It took me a couple weeks to get a video up because I've been busy with some personal things, medical things I've been going through, medical tests, trying to figure out something going on with me. But hopefully all will be okay. And I will bring more and more videos here real soon. So I'll see you guys pretty quickly here.